Lekker man, very well.
He's in that tree.
Yeah?
See this tree that's behind?
Behind Ali. You see who's in that car? You see who's in that car? Didn't you see it?
The hook. Goodbye. Hello, good afternoon to you all and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Oli. Let me stop the car and have a nice greeting. My name is Oli and joining us behind the camera is still Giandre. And we had a wonderful time with the kids. They were so amazing. We tried to find them hukumuri, but we're not lucky. Hukumuri now is our male leopard, which has a territory on the western side of the property. So no fresh tracks, no smell, nothing. So for now we'll be driving around. Maybe we'll bump onto a female track, who knows, because you know the females, they live in a man's territory. I haven't seen Hukumuri yet, and I haven't seen Shidulu yet. And Shidulu, it's a female that lives in this area, which has 2 cubs, and it's Tandi's daughter. So it will be a very great day for me if I can see one or both cats. So for any questions and comments, you can catch us on #SafariLive. But for now, while I'm driving and hoping luck will come, let's go to Pet in the Mara.
Well, look what I have found. Some of my favourite birds, the ostrich. These are very cool, very interesting birds. So we can see here we've got 1 male and 3 females. So the male is the one at the back right now, and we can tell it's a male because of that real dark coat it has, and the white primaries on the tip of its wing there, and the white tail feather. Whereas the females are a little bit more darker. So there's a good sexual dimorphism there, which makes it very easy to tell the difference. Now, these guys right now are in what is called a harem. And what a harem is the dominant male and his group of females. And this one seems to be a group of 3. So he's quite the player. So one thing you notice as soon as you look at ostriches is just how shaggy they look, almost as if they haven't combed themselves for a few days. Paula loves these birds. Yeah, they are so cool. And that shagginess, it comes from the fact that they are flightless. Obviously, being heavy birds can weigh up to 145 kilograms. They don't fly. So what happens, what this means for the feathers, sorry, I'm getting my words jumbled up here. What this means for the feathers is that they don't have barbs on the end of them. And why this is significant is because when a bird is in flight, the ends of the feathers, they need to hook together in order to hold the wings sturdy. But because these guys don't need to fly, they lack that. And so they have this shaggy coat that's more for insulation and for displays rather than anything else. And so you might be thinking, if they can't fly, why do they have wings? Well, they serve a few purposes here. Firstly, as I said with the feathers, it's for mating displays. You'll quite often see when a male is wanting to attract a female, he'll put his wings out and fluff his feathers up and look real big and majestic and do a little dance. But what it will also, they also use it for is for balance. So their wings, they'll put them out and it will help them balance when they're running at that fast speed of 70 kilometers an hour. Alexandria, an ostrich can get up to 2.5 meters tall, so just shy of 8 feet. That's a very tall animal. That's a double. No, not quite. No, definitely not double my height, sorry. That's about a meter, 70 centimetres, 80 centimetres on top of my height. So they would tower over most humans. And the last reason that they also have these wings is because the ends of them actually have a little hook or a little spike on them, and they use this for fighting. So you won't see ostriches fight much, but the males will fight and also the females will fight for territory. It's mostly the males though, although they are pretty peaceful most of the time. Of course, being closely related to the cassowary and the emu, which I know very well from Australia. They are Australian birds. I was just getting into that, so thanks for asking that question. What's the difference between an ostrich and an emu? Well, they are paleognathidae, which means that they are a flightless bird, a type of ratite. So a ratite is a bird that has evolved from Gondwanan time. And what Gondwana is the supercontinent that all of the landmass of the Earth pretty much used to be. So all of the continents of the world kind of used to be joined. And so they evolved from all the way back then, which is why we have the ostrich here in Africa that looks so similar to the emu in Australia. But obviously, as they have developed in different regions, they have evolved a little bit differently, different plumages, different diets, and slightly different modes of reproduction as well. And that also related to the cassowary, which is another big Australian flightless bird. And also one of the most dangerous birds in the world. Now, what do they eat, Christy? Well, they will mostly go for a vegetarian diet, mostly roots and grasses and seeds, but they will also be a little bit omnivorous every now and again and will eat the odd insect or maybe a snake or a little rodent. So while they are mostly herbivorous, they will definitely adopt an omnivorous diet as well. I'm just getting a little song play through my head here. Well, he can't fly, but I'm telling you, he can run the pants off a kangaroo. So that's actually about Old Man Emu, which is an Australian song, but I suppose it would apply to these ostriches out here as well. Well, these birds keep flying round and round. They keep their 2 feet firmly on the ground. Now, they can't fly, but I'm telling you, they can run the pants off a kangaroo. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit carried away here. Well, what's this? Topi charging through. Let's spook them. Okay, I'm going to stay and see if something's actually caused this, but in the meantime, I'm going to send you down to Tristan in South Africa.
Well, I wonder what Pat's song was all about. Maybe he should get hold of Taylor, given that Taylor's got so many connections in the music world, given her debut album that she put out last year. Maybe Pat can join her for the next rendition and can be a featuring artist. But as you can see, the visual of Kujaba has gone decidedly bad. She came down the tree, obviously, and she's then gone and grabbed the carcass and sort of dragged it as far as she can into the deepest, most horrible thicket, which for us is horrible, but for her is absolutely perfect. It allows her to get in there where it's shady, she can feed, and every now and then you'll see a few little spots kind of moving around between all of the foliage. And this is really the only spot that we could find where we could actually get a semi-decent view of her, and every now and then you'll kind of see her head pop up. How much is left of this carcass? I have absolutely no idea. I didn't really get a good view of it with the grass being so long. We just saw her kind of dragging it through and then coming in this direction. But I'm not sure how much is left. I can't imagine there'd be too much, given that she's now been here for almost, full kind of day and night. And Nadika is not really the biggest of animals. So I'd imagine she's starting to kind of finish up. And it'll be interesting to see where she moves to from here, whether she decides to start heading northwards into Torchwood, or if she's going to go further south. There was an update right now about a female leopard on Cheetah Plains, which I would imagine must be in Kanyeni, given where it was. It was all the way on the eastern side of Cheetah Plains. And I believe yesterday Quarantine was seen actually just south of Chitwa, on Annette's side. Annette's in coral kind of cut line. So it's a lot of leopards around, and it'll be interesting to see where she went. And I wonder if maybe Quarantine wasn't kind of involved in the loss of her cubs. You can see that's the kind of thicket that she's behind. And when you're looking for leopards, it's amazing how they can blend in and becomes really tricky to be able to see them. But what I was saying is I wonder if Quarantine wasn't involved with the loss of Kuchava's cubs, because I believe that she has lost them. I haven't seen for myself, and to be honest, when she was coming down the tree, I was too busy talking to some guests that have just arrived at Juma. They were saying hello that I know, and then also Ali and her mom are also in a vehicle sitting with me in the sighting there at Chitwa. So I was just kind of talking to all of them and didn't really pay attention to the suckle marks. But Taylor is telling me that it doesn't look like she has suckle marks anymore. And another friend of mine who was recently at Nkoro said that he was here and they saw Kuchava going to a drainage line off Annette's where they thought the cubs were, and she sat there calling for almost 2 hours and frantically running up and down, which suggests that those cubs unfortunately were probably killed. And the theory is that the father of those cubs was that skittish male that's been seen a handful of times. I think Taylor's definitely had that male on. And I forget who had it recently. Steve, I think, in one of the SABC TV shows, also had that same male. And so he might be the father, and then Quarantine has kind of ambled in there, and maybe he's found those cubs and killed them. I don't know. It's obviously tricky to know. It could have also been something like a python or hyenas, or who knows what it could have been. But the fact that Quarantine is starting to be seen in this kind of area, it's quite a creepy shot of her eye just sort of poking through the bush, isn't it? And every now and then just get that glint of the eye through the kind of green thickets. It almost feels like you're being watched from the shadows. So it could have been, to do with him. And so who knows? Now, Monique, do you call me the leopard whisperer? No, not really. I mean, this sighting, I didn't really find it. I mean, it was quite funny. I did laugh yesterday because Taylor was laughing at me because she went on game drive and I arrived back yesterday, but I wasn't on drive yesterday afternoon. And 5 minutes into game drive, I had already had somebody tell me about Kuchava, so I messaged her, and she was quite irritated by the fact that I already had kind of some sort of idea where a leopard was, even though I wasn't on game drive. But, it's more just, I suppose, going about looking or making friends and making sure you're well informed. So there's a lot of things that have been kind of happening. Today, there's been a lot happening on the western side of us. Shadulu and the two cubs were seen on Arethusa, but quite far from the cut line. So they were around an area called First Windmill. So that's kind of on the western side of Arethusa camp. And then Hukamuri is mating with Moya or Nanga female, depending on where she's seen, but he was mating with her quite close to the Londolozi boundary. So lots of stuff happening in the west. Tiani, I think, was also seen, and so it's just our northern leopards that are being elusive of late. So Tandi, Tlalamba, Tingana, they all need to start making an appearance. And I've also had a word with Hosana. For those of you that are interested, I gave him a phone call yesterday and told him that as much as he's been enjoying summer camp, and he says the food has been very nice at summer camp, but he's also getting tired and he wants to start coming home. So Senza and I have told him that he's got 3 days to finish up his Impala kill that he has on Londolozi and decide to start moving and getting his butt back home. And so hopefully he'll be back in the next few weeks. But ultimately, ultimately, the chances of him coming back in 3 days is probably not very good. We just told him that. He's a rebellious teenager now, and so he's living life by his own rules. He'll come back when he's ready, as they always say. But no, he obviously is a little bit of pressure from other males in this area, I would imagine, and that's why he's a little bit kind of nervous probably to come back this side. Also, the going's good where he is. I mean, he's not obviously being chased by anything, and he's got a huge amount of food. He's got the Sabi River that he can roam around. So it's a good place for a leopard, and if you can eke out an existence there, it certainly is a leopard's kind of hotspot. That's an area where many leopards have ended up going and trying to settle because of how suitable it is as a territory. But hopefully he does come back. Romit, are there males or predators around the territory of Kuchava? Yes. So she's got Tingana to the north of her at the moment, quarantine to the east, northeast, southeast, east, the skittish male to the south and to the west of her, and Hukaburi in the extreme kind of edge of her. Not really, but I mean, you could throw him into the mix as well. So that's kind of the mix of male leopards that she's got. In terms of other predators, she's got lots of hyenas that she's going to have to deal with. There is wild dogs that run through here. The lions are often in this area between the torchwoods, inkahumas, sticks. They all kind of overlap in this Chitwa section, the evoker males. So lots of different predators she needs to worry about. It's not an easy life being a leopard. And so you probably find the reason why she denned where she did is because of Tandi's increased pressure on Torchwood. Tandi has moved a lot more towards Torchwood these days and is spending a lot more time in that area, and that's then therefore kind of pushed Kuchava a little bit further south, and that's why her cub has been there. We know when Tandi was spending a lot of time on Juma's side of when she first had Kalamba, then we saw Kuchava pushing into Torchwood quite a lot more, and in fact she used to take her cub onto Torchwood fairly regularly, whereas now, it's not quite the case. We don't see her on Torchwood all that often. Every now and then maybe ride on the southern side, but Torchwood is really kind of Tandi's domain these days, and that's probably why she shifted south, and maybe that's why the cubs were put in danger, is that she went further south than normal, and she ended up going into a drainage line off the sort of Mala boundary, and who knows, maybe another leopard came in from the south and caused havoc there. So she's got a bit of a tough time of it. I don't know if we're going to get a better view though than what we've got at the moment. We're going to have to probably be a little bit patient, but I mean, if you walked past this bush now and she had her head flat, you would never know that there is a leopard inside there. It would be very, very tricky. Anyway, we're going to be patient. We're going to wait. We're going to see. Maybe she moves. In the meantime though, let's send you across to Oli and see how his afternoon's going and if he's had any luck.
Welcome back. Earlier on, my earpiece was not connected, so I didn't get the comms. I'm sorry about that. I had a little bit of panic there, but I'm still alive. As James will say, no one died after making a mistake. So we are here with these beautiful, good-looking female kudus, and they have a youngster there. You can see a youngster there. Remember, these ladies, one within these ladies is owning this youngster there. I don't know which one is that, but between these three, they will take about 9 months for them to be pregnant. And that's not a long time compared to big animals, for example, an elephant. And they are not like humans that they have to be lazy, I can say, if I can put it that way, or maybe not to be able to do some other stuff like running, high speed, and walking long distances. So that in that particular period when they are pregnant, they will be active as normal. And they're looking at something. There's this one that ran where they are looking. So I think there will be something that caught their attention this side. But I can see there's one there. I can only see its back. And on your right there, in the middle there, Chandra, in the middle there. Is it there? See? Yes, there. There's this one. It was a female, and I don't know why it ran, but something caught its attention. And remember, this is a comfortable territory for them because they love being in a thicket. So, but for the males, they are much vulnerable because of their big horns. Because when they run, they have to lift up their chin like this, and then running while their horns are facing at the back, and they are vulnerable at that time because they don't really see where they are running to, and while they're chased by a predator. So these ladies over here, they are better than the male ones. I can say they are less vulnerable than the males. Andrew, do you like to know do they fall pregnant at more or less at the same time? I'm not quite sure with that, but if they did, all these females would have youngsters, and they would be seeing like 30 youngsters. But maybe they had youngsters, maybe they were devoured by leopards or any predator. But most grazers or herbivores, they prefer to a certain season to give birth because it's more vulnerable, like it's more bad for a youngster to be born during the dry season, I can say, because they will try by all means to mate just right after the end of the dry season, then so that they will give birth during the wet season. So when there's a lot of food available and water resources. And during the dry season, this place gets completely dry, and the young ones, they have to be away from their mothers. So it will be difficult for them to hide the youngsters. So in these tall grasses, it will be easier for them to camouflage very well from predators. And they are chewing and thinking and looking. You can see their ears. They're wide open because they have to listen to the surrounding. Ivy, you want to know, are they still active when they are pregnant? Yes, indeed, for sure. They are very much active because they need to move away quick from a predator. They need to feed and they need to walk to a water sources. So what I can say, even if like a leopard or a lion, you remember they get pregnant, but they still can hunt. So even these youngsters or these guys or these females, they are active during their gestation period. So this female has turned and is looking to this 30 adults with this youngster over here. And it's not so easy to spot these guys. You can think they're tall, brown with white stripes and think that it will be easy to spot them in this thicket. It's not. So I don't know what's going on here. So maybe there will be something happening because their ears are all over the place and their faces are all over the place. So let's go to Pat with some update.
Well, I asked for ostriches. I said I wanted ostriches, and now I have definitely got ostriches. In about the last 10 minutes, I've driven past about 25 ostriches. And I'll stop quickly. We can see on the horizon here, there is a big group of them. About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think. And most of them were males. And that really highlights how complex the social structure of ostriches are. It's not really any fixed system, although there will be generally an alpha pair that will mate. The rest of the social structure around that is kind of really loose, and Yeah, it varies quite a bit. You're not always going to see a male with a harem or, you know, 2 females and 1 male. There's no real set ratio or anything like that. And they were running all over the place just a second ago. The one was running one direction, one was running the other direction, and I can only assume that is a predator avoidance technique to confuse them. They are relatively skittish animals. They are pretty easy to spook. You do need to keep a good distance from them most days. Some days they can be calm. Anyway, it is starting to cloud up a bit now and cool down a little bit. So I'm slowly circling my way back down and we'll do another search around Sausage Republic. Romet, no, the females are not darker than the males. The males are the ones that are darker than the females. So earlier on, when we had that male with the 3 females, I pointed out that he was the male because he had that dark plumage. And then they also have the white primaries at the end of their wings and a little bit of a white tail feather. Whereas the females tend to be a bit more of a mottled browny grey colour than the males. So they're quite easy to tell apart. And this is what we call sexual dimorphism, which is just a fancy word for the difference between a boy and a girl in a species. So most mammals you will find will show some form of sexual dimorphism, whether it just be size, but it can also be a number of other things. Colour, appendages, structure. And then, you know, there's the opposite end of the scale where you have females that are much, much bigger than males. We don't see this often in the animal kingdom, but it definitely does occur. It's like one of the deep sea fish that the males are a tiny, tiny fish and the females are huge. And the male will attach himself to a female once he finds her, and then he will eventually just slowly start to deteriorate until he is essentially just a sack of a fish, nothing else, that has reproductive cells inside of it, and he's just stuck to the female and just constantly fertilizing it. So some of the adaptations of nature are just baffling, absolutely baffling. So I'm getting myself a bit lost here. I thought this road was going to take me a bit more that way, but it hasn't. I am on untravelled territory. Connie, do I think that whether animals know when they're pregnant? To a certain stage, yes. I'm not sure whether, you know, the first couple of weeks of pregnancy, whether they know, but I'm sure once they start developing and feeling something inside of them that they would have to know. But then again, motherly instincts are very strong in the animal kingdom. And I mean, I don't know the correct answer. This is pure speculation, but I'm sure that they would know at some stage into the pregnancy that they are pregnant, especially towards the later stages. How could they not know? See some pregnant lions, they've got those big bellies. And there would also be a lot of hormonal changes and internal changes going on as well. So yes, I definitely do think that they will know when they're pregnant, but how far into their pregnancy that is, I couldn't confidently say. It's not like they can just whip out a pregnancy test like we can. Although we as humans, veterinarians, have developed ways to find out if an animal's pregnant, but then again, we can't verbally communicate that to them either. Well, I think I'm going to have to do a bit of a 3-point turn because this is taking me not where I want to go. And while I make this turn, I'm going to send you down to Tristan, who hopefully is still talking after I've made this turn and long after I've made this turn.
Right, now unfortunately we've lost and reposition and see if I can actually see her. Oh, there she is. She is there, Sens. It's just... goodness. Kuchava, could you have chosen a worse spot to sit? It's okay. She was posing so beautifully on the tree when we first got here that I think Sens, from here, we should be able to see her. Yeah, there she is. I'm just going to try and get into a better position for Senzo. How's that? Senzo says we can see her, so as long as we can see her, that's good. It's a horrible little thicket that she's kind of got into, and the problem is that a lot of the trees that are around her are sickle bush, and so sickle bush is not something you want to drive over. It can cause a few punctures, and I don't really feel like having a puncture right now, so you're going to have to just deal with it. A little bit of a kind of bad visual for now. But the reason why I'm being patient while she feeds in there is that often after a leopard is eaten, they will move off towards water to go and just kind of drink and maybe carry on. And it doesn't look like there's too much left of this carcass. And I actually want to see which way she goes, because it's going to be important in terms of following up on her tomorrow morning, see where she went. If she goes into Torchwood, well, then that's good for us, because we'll be able to maybe then find her inside Torchwood somewhere, or we'll see what kind of goes on. So it'll just be interesting to see which way she moves from here. She might also go up towards a tree and just go and lay down and sleep again, or even find a shady spot. So we'll just kind of be patient. It's sometimes the way it is. We can't have them posing beautifully all the time. She is a cat that you do get out in the open quite often. I actually quite like Kuchava. She's not adverse to climbing a tree and posing on mounds, which is always quite nice. So I'm hoping that she will come out once again and go and position herself in a nice spot for us to be able to see her. But it's also good that we've gotten to spend quite a bit of time with her, because while our other leopards have been less than generous with their time, by the sounds of things, speaking to the various presenters, they're all saying that it's been a tough few weeks with leopards. And so, you know, it's nice that Kuchava's come out. She's not a leopard we get to spend all that much time with, and so when we get sightings like this and we can spend 2-3 drives with her, it's always very special. So she's a firm favorite of many people just because of her connection to Karula and Mvula. Obviously, when the paternity test came out, it was made aware that Mvula was her father. Now, just trying to see if a vehicle is trying to get in here at the moment, but I doubt they're going to see too much. We just have to wait and see if she begins to move. Let's see, she's kind of just looking around at the moment. I don't think she's finished eating just yet. It doesn't look like much is left there, if I'm honest with you. It looks as though it's almost finished at this stage. So I think she's just going to shake that off and kind of finish the last. Now, Murray, I didn't get the question. I'm trying to kind of beep the radio, but if you can just repeat for me, and we'll try and see if I can hear you. Now, sorry, Murray, I'm not hearing you nicely at all. You're breaking up quite badly. I just heard something about Hosanna and where he would be on Juma. I think that's the gist of it, if he came back. I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of factors that are involved with the leopard forming a territory and finding a place to live. So he would have to compete with Hukamuri, the skittish male, Tingana, quarantine, kind of find a place in there. We know that when he was here during the course of the winter months, the central Djuma was where he kind of concentrated, so around the camp more than anywhere else. That area, I suppose, is still up in some respects for grabs, in that Tingana still patrols around there. So if Tingana starts to disappear a little bit and Hosanna can slide in there, then potentially he could take that area. But, we unfortunately have to come to this realization that Hosanna is not going to be around here forever. He is a young male, and generally we expect young males to be moving and to be pushing out and to be kind of going off on their own, like Tumba did, and so the chances of him staying was very, 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 very slim. And so if he does move off, then that's just the way it is. It would be nice if he came back, but I think the more time he spends away, the less time he's going to start moving back in here. Unless, of course, he comes back and decides that he wants to stay here and doesn't get too much pressure from the likes of, Hukamori or something like that, then maybe he'll stick around. But what surprises me, and especially in Tamba and Hosana's cases, both of them, very young male leopards, and they've gone into the densest areas for male leopards in terms of the Sand River, and they've somehow eked their way through there and are kind of sitting there pretty. And I don't know how they've managed to secure those areas. I mean, there's a lot of other leopards that hang around in those territories, and so I'm quite surprised at how well they've done. And hopefully they just continue to stay safe. I mean, Tumba's been the wanderer of the Sabi Sands, probably more so than any other leopard of late. He's been all the way to the western boundary, basically, and now has slowly kind of edged his way back towards Londo's. And wouldn't it be special if he arrived back? It's been a long time since we saw Tumba. In fact, I actually would like to know, maybe James, Richard, if you know what the last sighting we had of Tumba, what was the date? I think it must be close to a year now since we've seen him. And I would really, really like for him to come back. Okay, well, she's dragging the kill, which is good. There's still a lot more than I thought. And looks like she's going to take it towards a tree, which will be quite nice. Let's move here, Sense, because we'll be able to then follow her as she goes. Sorry, Rusty. Right, so it looks like she's going to go north. See. Let's just see where she goes. I'm just trying to stop where she can have space to move, because there's another vehicle that's just arrived. It looks like she's going to go north into Torchwood, which actually, I know sounds naughty, but I'm really hoping that she does, because that allows us to spend more time with her. There she goes. She's going to cross the road. Off she goes with her kill into Torchwood, hopefully, which will be quite nice. There she goes. There we go. So she's crossing into Torchwood. So we're going to just follow her as she goes in and see where she heads to. I'm pretty sure she's going to go towards a tree and put carcass tree eventually, which will be quite nice for us. So we're going to try and just cross over with her. Unfortunately, there's quite a steep bank here, so we're going to just try. No, we're not going to be able to get up there. We have to try and get right to that. See if we can get.
We are sorry for those technical difficulties. So I am still making my way back down along what I am now going to call Ostrich Road, because there is ostriches all over this road. Still making my way back to sausage territory, but the sun is starting to go behind the clouds now. It's starting to cool down, so hopefully we have a bit more activity, which will make them a lot easier to find, because when it's hot like it was today or this afternoon, they go so flat, and this time of year the grass is so long, it makes them very difficult to spot. So it's always a lot easier when they're out and about on the move. And I'm still yet to get a lion kill live, so I would really, or a lion hunt live, so I'd really like to get that. So it does seem like we are having some problems with tech down in South Africa, so we do apologise for that. I'll just have to keep on going on. Actually, this is a really, really nice scene out here. Look at the sun. I said it was disappearing behind the clouds, but now it's put out some incredible light. Almost holy. That is amazing. Wow. And the sun hasn't even begun to set. I can't believe how good that looks. Ripper. Absolutely ripper. Anyway, on we go. I think I should almost make it a mandatory thing now. Every drive I have to stop for either a sunset or a sunrise, because I think I've done it just about every drive, and for good reason too. For absolutely good reason. There's something so calming about it. Very relaxing. Ooh, we got some Thompson's gazelle on the side here. So, got some gazelle here. You see a lot more of these during the migration times, but there are still quite a decent population left here. And aren't they a cute animal? And a very fast animal. I have heard that they can get up to 100 kilometers an hour when they run, which is absolutely incredible. And they have a special system called the carotid rete system, which helps to get cool blood going to the brain, so their brain doesn't overheat when they're moving at such a high speed. So this kind of gives them that little bit of an evolutionary advantage over the predators. So they can push that little bit further sometimes. And that's always going on out here in nature, that arms race, the evolutionary arms race between predator and prey. One will develop something and the other one will develop something in response. And that's just the nature of natural selection. I mean, if they don't respond to an advantage that the predator has, then they're going to perish. It's as simple as that. There always needs to be that little bit of edge there just to keep the species going. Gazelle are definitely one of my favourite antelope. They are an antelope. All antelopes are gazelle, but not all gazelle are... No, wait. Yeah, all gazelle are antelopes, but not all antelopes are gazelle. That was one of the first things I was taught when I came out here. Oh, looks like we've got a huge herd of buffalo just over here. Might make my way over that way, because if there's buffalo, then perhaps there may be lion around as well, trying to snag one of the... Actually, it looks really nice, the buffalo. I might actually stop for this scene too. The buffalo are directly in the kind of biggest beam of sunlight right now, and it looks very, very nice. I'm just going to find a nice patch to pull over because it's a little bit muddy here. That is a huge herd of buffalo. I'm not even going to try and count, but if I had to estimate, maybe 300? Look at that. How cool is that? So this is a giant herd of buffalo. There must be some very good grazing pastures over there. Ghost Rider wants to know what is the elevation in the Mara. Well, currently we are sitting at about 1.6 kilometres above sea level. So it is quite high up, and then where our camp is even further up on the escarpment, almost 2 kilometres high. So just almost at that 1 mile mark above the ground. So it does make things a lot harder, because as you get higher up, obviously oxygen gets thinner and harder to breathe, so your lungs have to work harder. So sometimes even just walking up the hill to the kitchen can leave you puffed out. But it's great because it helps to build fitness very quick. I always leave the Mara a lot fitter than when I arrive. Look at all those buffalo grazing very peacefully through there. They are bulk grazers, meaning that they aren't too selective about what they eat. So they will munch pretty hard on a lot of different substrates. Or not substrates, sorry, grasses. I don't know where that word came from. Oh, it's been a hot day. I think I'm losing it a little bit. This is a wonderful sighting at Murray. Absolutely tranquil. So I'm moving over towards the herd at the moment. And you might get a closer look. And as I said, hopefully they are attracting some lion as well. We are starting to get back to Sausage Republic. Now, as I am on my own at the moment, I need a bit of conversation going on. So please interact with me using the hashtag Safari Live or the YouTube chat stream. I'm going to search and talk and search and talk. Looks like, oh wow, yeah, I was just about to say, it looks like we might be lucky tonight and get away from the rain, but it just looks behind me and it is black and it seems to be moving this way. So hopefully nature is nice to us and it just holds off that little bit to give us time to do what we need to do, to show you what you want to be shown. I'm going to go around this bit because last time I tried to go through a mud puddle, I almost took poor Bongai's head off. What would be my ideal bush dinner whilst watching lions? Well, I'll tell you what, I definitely wouldn't want to have some meat on me. Okay, the only way's through, hey? Okay. I definitely wouldn't want to have meat on me. It might make them frick up a little bit. What's over there? Okay, so Bongai's just telling me he thinks he sees lions. So I'm just going to get my binos out and have a bit of a look. Just bear with me, everyone. And so back to the ideal meal. Maybe a nice, or some vegetarian nachos smothered in guacamole. And a nice juicy mango with some yogurt afterwards. Here, I'll give you the binoculars. Sorry about this, everyone. We are trying to find lions right now. Okay, no, good. On we press. I am very much determined. I really want... Oh, is that actually... Is that... Yeah. Surely that's a lion. Oh no, it's a hyena. There is a hyena just stuck its head up over here. I'll see if I can get around to it. There's been hyenas everywhere in the Mara lately. Definitely a lot more than last time I was here. It was almost guaranteed every drive to at least see one or two hyena, quite often following the roads. You can see these topi here are staring very intently at the hyena right now. So, oh, sorry, I'll just move back a little bit. So all of these topi, if we follow to where they were staring, just off to the right, you can see a cheeky little head poking up out of the grass. There we go. There they are, having a look over, with all those buffalo in the background as well. So I wonder if these are members of the North Clan or not. I definitely would not be able to confidently ID them from back here. Not a chance. We're probably about 100, 150 meters, so about 450 feet away from them. But I just saw that head sticking up out of the grass and it looked like a young lion, which is the objective. So I will continue on. I am really determined to find these sausages actually. What do I love most about the Mara? Sorry, I didn't get your name, but I'm sure Murray will repeat it and I'll be able to say then. But what do I love most about the Mara? Everything. Everything. I feel so blessed and happy every time I'm out here. It's just, there's so much space, so much life. It's green, it's fresh, it's free. So many animals. And then the sunrises, the sunsets, the clean air, the people. Everyone's so nice. It's just, you know, one of those really magical places. The only other place where I've really had this feeling is Costa Rica. It's another one of those really fresh, nature-filled, green areas of the world where, you know, everything just feels right. Of course, very different habitats and environments. When I was over in Costa Rica, I was mostly in the dry forest, one of the last remaining dry forests in the world, which is essentially like a rainforest, except it doesn't cop the rainfall. So it's got a bit different kind of vegetation there. And actually, in those dry forests as well were jaguar, which are pretty similar looking to leopards. So they were one of the first, well, the first big cat I ever saw in my life. It was a jaguar out in the jungle of Costa Rica. And they were actually feeding, believe it or not, on the sea turtles. I was working on a sea turtle project, and we literally saw jaguar coming onto the beach and eating sea turtles by opening up the shell and getting inside. The remains was not really a pretty sight to come across, that's for sure. They are very cool animals. And we got to see them on foot as well. What is the difference between jaguars and leopards? Well, leopards and jaguars have a different distribution. So leopards you'll mostly find about amongst Africa, and I believe the jaguar extends down through Central America, down to South America, but I'm not 100% sure on the distribution of the jaguar. But obviously I know they're in Costa Rica. I'm not sure whether they extend down, but yeah, so difference in environment and difference in geographic location will obviously lead to differences in species. And that is one of the ways that speciation occurs. It's from geographic isolation. Just like I was actually saying with the emus and the ostriches. So they obviously both originated from that Gondwanan supercontinent, but then as Africa and Australia started to drift apart, then so did the differences between the two. And obviously as the environment started to change, as that continental drift continued, then different things started to change within the animals, different adaptations. And so that's why you'll see the similarities, but then also the differences. Now hold on everyone, I'm gonna have to punch through this a little bit. So geographic isolation is one of the drivers behind evolution. Seems like my mic has come loose. Sorry about this, everyone. Probably going to hear some grunts and groans from the microphone as I put it back in. And we're back. Sorry about that, I didn't realise that had happened. So yeah, so geographic isolation definitely is a driver behind speciation. And that continental drift that I was speaking about, I didn't really elaborate on that, but it's, if you think of the world as a crust floating on molten magma and hot liquid essentially, there is convection, which is the cycle of warm things rising, cold things sinking. And so that starts to happen underneath the crust of the Earth, and it pushes the crust of the Earth out and the continents away from each other. And so that is how continental drift occurs. It's a very complex topic, but that's kind of just the basic drivers behind it. So we are starting to approach true Sausage Republic now. So I'll probably slow down a little bit and start to look a little bit more careful. There's that herd of elephants we drove past earlier. Have you seen any lion by any chance? No? Okay. The elephants haven't seen any lions, so that doesn't help. I'll just have to look harder myself. It looks like that storm that's behind us is still staying put, which is good. That's one less thing to worry about, although it is cooling off significantly, but I am not complaining one bit. The sun was harsh today. It really burned, you know, when you can feel it kind of crinkling your skin almost. And that is because we are, as I said, so high up and so close to the equator as well. And while I'm actually searching for some lions, I might do some birding as well if I come across any birds. I've been putting a lot of time and effort into learning my birds lately. And so if I come across an interesting one, I will definitely stop to chat about it. Birding is actually something that I really didn't expect to enjoy this much. As I said, I did a little bit of it back in Australia, just purely for the enjoyment of it. And the more I learn and read about birds, the more I'm just really starting to see how fascinating they are. The complete diversity. So the paleo gnats that I was saying about, which is the ratites or your emus, ostriches and cassowaries, how they evolved so long ago and then gave rise to the birds with flight, the neognats, which is pretty much every other extant species. And then all the way to the pesarines, which there is about 6,000 species. Today, I was like, I said to myself today, yeah, you know, I'll try and learn a lot of pesarine species today, thinking that there'd only be a couple of hundred. Then I saw that number, 6,000 plus. That's absolutely staggering, and there's probably quite a lot more. That's just the thing with taxonomy and trying to classify species. It's always chopping and changing. There's always more to be found. There's always a new subspecies or a new branch of a species. It's always changing, which can make it very confusing actually, very frustrating at times. When I was writing my honours paper, I had to change the species name, no, sorry, not the species name, just the genus name of one of the species of mussels I was researching 3 times in the 1 year that I was writing my thesis. 3 times. So it went from Limnoperna to Brachiodontes, back to, and then to Mytilus. No, not Mytilus. Yeah, no, but then Limnoperna. So that's 3 genii change within the space of a year. And so I had to go back through my thesis every time this happened and change it and change it and change it. And so that's where taxonomy can really start to get a bit tedious. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like people look a little bit too much into it. because, yeah, I mean, the deeper you dig, the darker it gets, really. Jumbo! Well, there's no sign of much right now, but I am still making my way around to roughly where that buffalo herd was, and I'm going to scan over the plains as well and hopefully see some lion. I don't think I'm getting commed from FC right now, so I really am on my own at the moment. So I'm just going to keep waffling on as I look for these lion. And still my two favourite animals. I was asked my very first day presenting out here in the Mara what my two favourite animals were, and they were elephant and lion, and I still hold that true. I've had so many awesome interactions with so many animals now, but just lion cubs and elephant babies, I cannot get over. Every time I'm around them, I don't know, I turn into a different person. It's so cute. And then I suppose also seeing the parents kind of react to these childish behaviors and everything like that, it kind of reminds me of being a kid as well, and just how my parents would react. It's, yeah, I've said it 100 times, just seeing some of the similarities between some animals and humans. Well, it looks like everything is back in order and I can look in peace and you don't have to hear my rambling anymore. Jamie actually has a pregnant hyena, so let's go say hello to Jamie.
Okay.
And 3 beats.
Brilliant. Thank you all for jumping on board the safari and, of course, for sending through your... Oh, hello. Surprise. A very good afternoon. That's not exactly how I planned to do my first segment back from leave. I was in the middle of doing something that was off air. But hello, I'm back. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon, Gendre is on camera with me. Gendre looks as surprised as I am. It's really good to be back once again. I've been on leave for the last 3 weeks, and wouldn't you know it, there is a hyena here to welcome me back. In this case, it is Pretty. I don't know which hyena Tristan had earlier, spending some time in the mud wallow. I don't know if it was Pretty or not. But in this case, we have the lovely Pretty, and she looks as though she swallowed not only a beach ball, but possibly a beach ball that was pumped up several times by an over-enthusiastic child. She looks absolutely enormous. I couldn't be more thrilled to be back here, and of course, most importantly, to hear that the hyena den has returned to Djuma once again. They seemed to wait until I'd gone on leave before coming back, and I'm going to try not to take that too personally. And we went there this morning, had a wonderful time this morning, saw Pretty's cubs, saw Plonk, all looking so grown up and like little miniature spotted hyenas now. So my plan was actually to finish off what I was doing and then to head across towards the den site itself and go and see whether or not any of the cubs are about. Taylor tells me, I have to say it's really good to see Taylor as well, of course. Taylor tells me that Ribbon's cubs were out this morning, so that's something to look forward to as well, just towards the end of, or at the end of the sunrise safari. Pretty, are you planning on coming with? Would you like a lift to your den site? Because really, honestly, you look as though you could use it. Yeah, we might have to get a loader though. Maybe a TLB or a front loader or something to carry that thing anywhere. She must be beyond uncomfortable. The interesting thing is, of course, is that a hyena can eat around about 20% of its body weight. So this is still not the fattest hyena I've seen, but it's pretty close. All right, while I finish off quickly, it'll only take me about 30 seconds or so. So while I finish off quickly and start heading to the den, let's pop back across to Tristan, who I know is also very chuffed to be back with his favorite spotted cats.
Oh, those hyenas are incredibly fat. We saw one earlier in the afternoon who was lounging in a mud wallow, and she was as round as she was tall. So I'm pretty sure they are all fed really well. Now, Kuchava, well, she's not as round as that. Unfortunately, it was a pity that we lost our comms for a while because we had a great sighting of her. She went up a marula tree and she unfortunately then dropped her carcass down the tree. Then she came back down, picked it up, and then went up another one and posed in the most beautiful golden light, which was only for a short while, and then she's come back down again and is now lying in the long green grass and is just taking a bit of a break. And after climbing trees twice with a carcass, I'm not surprised that she's enjoying a little kind of time out. At least she's got her head up at the moment. It'll hopefully mean that she's still thinking about moving, but we know she's already fed now, and so the chances of her going anywhere now is probably quite slim. I thought maybe she might go for water, but it seems as though she's quite happy just to settle and take it easy. What's interesting, though, is that I saw pictures of the carcass this morning. And yesterday, a friend of mine sent me photos of the carcass yesterday, and this duiker is definitely not the same duiker as she had yesterday. It seems as though she's killed another one. It's quite common to see that, though, in amongst these predators, particularly with duikers, because what happens is, due to the monogamous relationship of the animals, the adults often, when they lose one, will go in search of the other one, and you find that there is a kind of a process where this young antelope or these antelope will kind of move and try and find their mate, and that often means that they move right towards where the leopard is. And so you regularly see with duikers that there's often more than just one that gets killed. It's sometimes the young one, sometimes both partners, and in fact sometimes can be all three. I've seen Tandi twice on Chitwa take an entire family of duiker in 3 consecutive days. She took the adult male first, then the adult female, and then the baby was the last one to be taken 2 days later. And they had all 3 of them at one point were hanging in the same tree. So it does happen, and so that's probably what's happened here. It looks like an adult that she's got at the moment. There's probably about half left, so she should still be here in the morning. Maybe she's going to kind of finish it up, but I don't think so. I think she's full enough to see. There you go. You can see the head of that poor duiker that's hanging over the across the branch of this marula. Not ideal if you're a duiker, and there are leopards around, but very, very pretty kind of setting when she was up in the tree. It was this beautiful kind of golden light, with this sort of dark shady background at one point. So it was very, very pretty. She kind of put on a proper show for everybody that was here at the time. Unfortunately, like I say, we just didn't have comms at that point. Spoilt us, though, that's for sure. It's been a wonderful return to vehicle. It's a pleasure, Murray. Murray says, thanks for telling us what we missed. Well, I thought you guys would like to know. I actually even have a video of it, Murray, if you want, in slow motion, if you really want it. But no, I'm just joking. We've been spoiled by her. Taylor seems as though she had two really nice sightings of Kuchava yesterday afternoon and this morning. So it's been really nice to have kind of spent quite a bit of time with her over the past little bit. And for me coming back, this morning we eased into it with walk, and we focused on very small things. In fact, I didn't really even get off quarantine this morning. We did so many kind of butterflies and those kind of things, whereas now, this afternoon was back into proper drive. And always nice to start your leave with a leopard. It's the best way for me at least, to start my leave. Are you going to go back up the tree, girl? Oh, isn't she pretty? Look at those eyes. Lauren, do female leopards kill female cubs? So there has been reported cases of female leopards killing cubs, even little male cubs, if they're very, very small, of a rival female. But generally, you find no. Generally, there's a little bit of a skirmish and they kind of move off. But I suppose Tandi and Shangila is a prime example of what a female leopard does to a intruding young female. I mean, Shangila was by no means a cub, as she was more a sub-adult when she was attacked by Tandi, but it showed you very quickly what Tandi's response is. And so without the mother there, then a female leopard is going to be aggressive to any sort of other leopard that she doesn't recognize, because ultimately she doesn't want any competition for food and den sites and potential mating rights. So she will try and kind of push them off. Now, I wonder where she's going to go off to. She might go and take us for water now. It's that time of the day. Saying that she might, no, she's just going to lie behind the bush. Of course you are, Kachava. Right, let's just reposition ourselves quickly, Sense. Just going to have to go back and round. Fortunately, the grass is so long. It's a bit tricky. Where you got to position yourself is not the easiest. It's quite strange to say the grass is so long, given how's that Sense? Is that all right? It's a bit tricky because of the kind of slope that we're on. We're kind of looking into the grass, whereas I suppose actually it's better to be a little bit higher than it is to be a bit lower, but there she is there. It's an all right view. I think there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, most people in their lives would absolutely love to see a leopard in that way, whether it be in long, thick grass, they wouldn't care. There's many people that have been to many of the game reserves that have had very little leopard in terms of viewing in South Africa. I know a lot of the Kruger trips are quite tricky to find leopards, and so I know lots of people that have done multiple safaris without any leopard luck. Okay, well, we'll sit with her. Hopefully she'll come out of the grass and into the tree just now and feed off her carcass. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Jamie and those very full, very happy hyenas, which should make Jamie quite happy.
All right, let's try that all again, shall we? Now that I've managed to put my brain into a different mode. I was busy doing a promo for schools drives. I'm busy recording that, and then it's sort of, I'm a bit out of practice now with this whole live thing, so it took me a second to readjust my frame of reference. I've been back for about a day now, and I've recently been considering if I hit the brakes really fast, if I could get Jandre to flop out of his seat and down into the front, because he's currently sitting in the back singing I Believe I Can Fly in Afrikaans. Now, I Believe I Can Fly in itself, and Murray says please do it. I'm not, of course, going to in any way injure Jandre, that would be mean, but it's not to say that the thought didn't cross my mind ever so slightly. I Believe I Can Fly, and I feel as though I'm going to have some Space Jam fanatics shaking their fists at me somewhere across the globe. But I Believe I Can Fly is not the pinnacle of human being songwriting, nor does it sound any better in Afrikaans, I'm afraid. Especially because, you know, what were you singing? I can't even remember the words now. I can't even remember. Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Anyway, you know what does work is going to the hyena den to spend a bit of time there. So this morning, Corky was running around looking ferocious, looking as though she'd had to assert her dominance throughout the night. I don't know what they ate, but it was something big, judging by the bellies. Even Saka had an enormous belly on him. So whatever the clan ate last night, it filled them all up pretty well. Somewhere on Little Gowrie, they were running backwards and forwards, and Pretty's cubs had been for a little field trip away from the den, and then Corky took them all the way back to the den itself. Pretty was there, she was just lying in the wallow, completely oblivious to the fact that she had parental responsibilities, maternal responsibilities. So I'm wondering what else we might find. Pretty's sitting on twin dams, so she's not going to be down this side anytime soon. Let's go see whether or not Ribbon makes an appearance. I'm so excited! While I've been gone, June had babies. We knew June had babies, but we obviously hadn't seen them. My first generational jump. Aunt Jo. Sure, I was thinking in sort of June thing. I was thinking along the lines of June and the fact that I knew her from being a baby. And it sort of brings me to the answer of Aunt June's question, which is, what is my favorite thing about being a guide? I enjoy the building of special memories, because every special sighting goes into the brain's archive, so to speak, and it is to be treasured and looked back on in days to come. And special animals, of course, have special memories attached to them, so I think I enjoy that. I think my favorite thing, though, and I think you'll find that most of us agree with this, not all of us, most of us, though, as guides, what we really enjoy about what we do is that we get to share something that we love with people who are really interested in hearing about it and experiencing it. You know, it's one thing to have to be a teacher. Obviously, when you've got a student that's really interested in what you're teaching, whether it's English or biology or science or mathematics, you've got a student just really interested, it's one thing. When you've got a student that is just totally disinterested and you've still got to try and teach them and get through to them, that's a different story. And it's something that we never have to do as guides, because people come on holiday because they want to be here. They want to experience the place. People watch Safari Live because they have a special fascination with the wilderness. And yes, they might not like every aspect that we show them. Some people don't like hyenas. Some people really can't be bothered about insects or learning about insects or grass or flowers, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, everyone who's watching is a naturalist at heart. And so what we get to do is take something that we love and share it with people who are really interested in it. And that, I think, is probably, for me, my favorite part of being a guide. That, and I get to sit next to animals all day. I mean, you know, doesn't really get better than that. I think it's safe to say that there might be people who don't particularly like grass. There might be people that don't particularly like flowers. There might even be people, even though they're wrong, who don't like spotted hyenas. But no one doesn't like a leopard.
Right, as you can see, Java hasn't really moved too much at all. She's still sitting ever so gracefully in the grass. She's started to yawn now, which is a good sign. Obviously, yawning is often an indication of leopards moving. So we might find her starting to get up and maybe go for water. It's also cooled down quite a bit, and you can see if you look up at the carcass on above her on the left-hand side there, you'll see that there's the last of the golden light just hitting that carcass, and it's fading quite quickly. But that's kind of the last little bit of light there, and maybe when that light is shifted off that carcass, it'll be more comfortable for her to actually go up there and feed. And you can see that there's quite a bit still left. It was the head and the sort of shoulders. Oh no, now she's gone flat. That's not ideal. You've just proved us completely wrong. Oh well, I suppose that's what leopards do. They don't do what you want them to do. I thought with the yawning that she might start to move around a little bit and decide to go and kind of find water somewhere, and I'm hoping that the flies are so irritating, as you can see there, that she'll eventually get annoyed enough to go and climb up into the tree itself and go and lie up there once again. But for now, it is a leopardess that has decided this is the most comfortable spot, and I suppose given the fact that she lay up in the tree for most of the day, must have been most of the day, given that's where she was when Taylor was with her. So Paula, in terms of going back into estrus, very quick with cats. Cubs were killed, let's say the cubs were killed today. Within 3 to 4 weeks, she can be mating again, which is quite incredible. But generally, it's a bit longer than that. You generally find most leopards don't really come into an estrus for a few months, and they kind of try and figure out their territory and mark and make sure everything's okay, and then they only start to really focus on mating again. But it does happen. So like I say, 3 to 4 months they can start coming in. 3 to 4 weeks, and they can start being in an estrus cycle once again, which is really quite short. I'm a bit sort of sad for her because, you know, she was doing so well with the first cub until she had that run-in with Tundi and the evokers, and that was the last time the cub was seen, was in that area. And, well, maybe not seen, but the last tracks we had of that cub was in that area, and then it just disappeared. And it's such a shame because she had done quite well with that cub. The cub was getting to a sort of decentish age, and then these ones really didn't kind of develop much at all. I don't know how many she had and whether or not, they didn't really make it past 4 months or 3 months, so, they died quite young, which is completely kind of normal in leopard cubs. The fact that Karula and Tundi have been so successful as mothers is really the sort of opposite to the norm. It's not how things normally are. Most leopards will lose litters in their life, particularly young females. they still are learning experiences, learning where den sites should be, how to kind of keep cubs safe and supply food to them while they're away. So you often find younger females losing members of their, or a few cubs from their litter. So, she's unfortunately a little bit rough, and it just is, like I say, a testament to how incredible Karula and Tundi are in the fact that they've raised so many cubs. Tundi obviously not so much as, probably not as good as Karula in terms of numbers, but just as equally successful in terms of litters that she's had, that she's raised into independence. She's had one from every single litter that she's had go into independence, much like Karula, bar that one litter that was killed by the hyena, that one cub. So, they've both are incredible mothers, and it's why you want her to be successful and to carry those genes forward, and hopefully she'll figure it out and find a way. I think she unfortunately has a little bit of the same syndrome that Shadow had, in that she's in a very awkward area in terms of her territory where it lies currently in terms of males. There seems to be quite a few boundaries that she's dealing with. I mean, she's got, like I was saying earlier, Tingana to her north, Quarantine to her east, the Skittish male on her west and south, and I don't really know what males are coming out of Mala Mala onto her southern portion of her boundary, because she has even been seen crossing into Mala Mala before. So, she's kind of like Shadow in many respects, had a lot of males that were crossing over, and it was difficult for her to find a sanctity in amongst all of those males for her cubs. I think she's in the same boat at the moment, and when Tundi, who can't live forever, when she maybe shifts and moves a little bit, that might give the opportunity for the likes of Kuchava to move into Torchwood and Eastern Juma, and maybe then she can be a little bit more successful with a stable male, and her cubs will have a better chance of surviving. In terms of Shadulu, obviously she's got a very, very kind of, it's not a completely ideal situation in that there is a young male that's also moving around in there, and we know that Hosanna kind of has drifted through her territories, but for the most part she really only has one male leopard that is encompassing her entire area, and that's Hokamuri, and so her ability to raise her cubs is going to be a lot easier than it would be for the likes of a leopard like Kuchava, and it's going to be interesting to see how Shadulu does. I know that both cubs were seen this morning, which is nice. I believe when she was here, only one cub was with her at the time, but both cubs were seen this morning, and so seems to be doing really well. She's getting past the most dangerous point with those cubs. They're getting to sort of 4 or 5 months old now, and once they're at that age, then they're able to start climbing and these kind of things. Maybe not 4 months. They're not 4 months already. No, 3 months. Sorry, time kind of was fast forwarding in my mind. But they're getting to the age where they're starting to climb trees, which allows them to be able to stay away from things like hyenas and even lions and those kind of things. So hopefully she's going to do well with hers, and like I say, hopefully Kuchava is able to shift into a bit of a more sort of stable area male wise. Brendan, what coalition has sired the most cubs in the Sabi Sands? Well, I don't know why we're talking about lions when we're sitting with leopards and been talking leopards, because there's no coalition of leopards that we get in the Sabi Sands. So I'm not really sure what you mean by that. If you mean what male leopard has sired the most cubs in the Sabi Sands, that's a whole different question altogether, and probably a very difficult one to answer. The history of leopards is rich in this area, and there's been a lot of leopards that I've never seen and were before my time. Currently though, if you had to look at the male leopards that we see in this area, imagine Tingana probably sired the most that we see within the whole Sabi Sands. Day one, Kashan, there would be probably quite a few from them. Shovo has got a lot of cubs that he's sired. Flat Rock would probably have quite a few. There's lots. There's so many different males that if you go to Mala Mala side and Kirkman, there's many. But yeah, there's no coalitions of leopards though, just so we're on the right page. Right. Anyway, we're going to sit with Kuchava. She's got feet up, paws up, sleeping. Flies are irritating her, which hopefully will drive her up into the tree. In the meantime, though, Jamie's still at the hyena den, and sounds like the little ones are out and about.
Awesome. Look. We've got the tiny little ones out, and Gawley's just spotted. What have you spotted? Is it a hyena in the hole? On the other side. Okay. we're going to go forward a little bit. So we've got Ribbon, we've got June's cubs, and we've also got somebody with a very tiny little voice who just gave us the most amazing display of whooping. Woo! 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 I love it when they do that, when the little cubs do the whoop. I want to scare the little ones. I'm just going to sit here for now. Okay, I can see there's an adult over there. It's probably June. I did see the cubs sniffing around there. Oh, this is awesome. So what we have over here, just to give those of you who are new to these dynamics a bit of background, this female over there is not the mother of these two cubs. But what's interesting is you will see how gentle she's being with them, and also what you might see is she might even allow them to suckle from her. Now, as a rule, and of course with every rule there are exceptions to it, as a rule, hyenas do not allow allosuckling, but what this tells us immediately is that the mother of these cubs is higher ranked than this female is now. Because there's no way she would allow those cubs to suckle otherwise. That's when you get allosuckling in hyenas, is when the cubs are actually higher ranked than the female they're suckling from. Hello! I am very pleased to meet you. Yes, I am. I'm very proud of your mom. I've known your mom since she was smaller than you are. So what do we say? About 3 months old, these little guys, I would say. Judging by the spots. How cute. Oh, you're just the best. Our Ribbon's going to go up to the hyena behind the bushes. I'm pretty sure that is June that's hiding there. And interestingly enough, Ribbon is also not very full at all. Hello, come here. Come say hello. Come say hello. Hi. Very nice to meet you. I don't want to move my head too much because I'm going to block them from you, but it's so cool when they come up close like this. Okay, I'm going down again. Misty wants to know how long hyenas are pregnant for. Roughly the same length of time as leopards, lions, big cats. So it's around about 3 or so months. But what you find is that if they lose litters, it takes them a very long time for their bodies to recover. Hello. Lots of talking. Wish I knew what they were saying. Well done, June. Now, Ribbon has tiny little cubs of her own, even smaller than these little chaps. So I'm hoping that before the end of the safari, she's going to bring them out. Oh, look at that little nose. Is that nice? Yes, the whole world is your chew toy out here. Or a scratching post. You were so close for a second there, I could actually hear the little cub snuffling. Sniffing the bark. Yes, no, that's not quite as tasty as a nice rotten piece of meat, is it? Or as Mum's milk. This is gorgeous. I have missed this so terribly. This is pure therapy for the soul. Now, you can't go right under the car, otherwise we can't see you. I'm not even watching what's going on. I'm looking purely through the eyes of what Chandra is showing you. I'm not keeping an eye on my surroundings. But I just can't bring myself to look away. Ribbon, where are your babies? Look how they're teasing her. Romit, it's a really difficult one to choose. Romit wants to know who is my favorite hyena on Juma. I really struggle. My absolute favorite female actually died 2 years ago. No, it wasn't 2 years ago. It was a year ago. Her name was Gwen, And I really, really liked old Gwen. There was something so characterful and very soulful about her eyes. I watched her being beaten up quite badly once, and she looked at me and stared right into my soul with blood pouring down her face, and looked so utterly woe-begone. And it was one of the most knowing, human-like expressions I have ever seen from an animal. So Gwen died, unfortunately. I have a soft spot for Ribbon. Having watched her cubs grow up, I have a soft spot as well for June, having watched her cubs grow up, and of course having known her mother as well. But I think right now, actually, to be honest, I'm still readjusting to the whole new way of things, and for now, the position of favorite hyena actually goes to Tsaka, who is a male, and who is clearly the favorite male or the preferred male for at least Corky and Pretty, and probably Ribbon as well. And I really like Tsaka. There's something about him that is so thoroughly entertaining. He's an adult hyena, but he still comes to investigate the vehicle, and he likes to be close to people. Oh, is your back itchy? I'm sure. I actually think they're quite itchy. 2 days of stinky food around, plus an overcrowded den. Not quite overcrowded, but definitely crowded den. I imagine that they're feeling the parasite load a little bit. So I think Tsaka for now, but that will very much remain that's subject to change. November. Oh. Yes, a little bit of caution there. Just because you think you can bully Ribbon doesn't mean you can. I don't know. Who's the hyena behind the bush? My money is on June. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. My money's either on June or Tsaka. Don't think Tsaka would get away with lying quite so close, so June. Could be Corky, which would explain why Ribbon's quite nervous to go to the entrance to her den and fetch the tiny ones out. Listen, listen, listen. How cute was that? Little baby voice, whooping. I wonder who that is that's calling. Could be Plonk. It's baby enough. He's still young enough for it to be him. I think it's true. Ribbon's cubs won't be ready yet. They won't be calling yet. It's my favorite when baby hyenas do that. Ooh. With these little tiny unbroken voices. It's just the best. I absolutely love it. I can't even remember who the question was from. It might have been Dexter, Bexter, or Gexter, or possibly something rhyming with Exter. Wants to know if hyenas lose their baby teeth. They do. They'll get their permanent... Vixter? Vixter. We'll go with Vixter. Sorry, Vixter. Doesn't rhyme with Exter much at all. Vixter wants to know if hyenas lose their baby teeth. They do. And they're one of the few that are born with fully erupted milk teeth, but they will then get their adult teeth or their permanent set of teeth. It takes some time. So obviously, like with children, there's a huge gap with human children in terms of losing these teeth versus losing your molars. There's quite a few years in between when those teeth are lost and the permanent teeth come in. And the same goes for hyenas, but not quite such an extended gap. I'm going to reposition us, and I'm going to do that by virtue of... Let's see if they'll let me drive along here. Ribbon? What's up, girl? Hey, June. Well done, girl. Well done. We made babies. Yes. I'm so proud of you. Chandra, how's that? I don't want to shuffle around too much and disconcert them. So that female over there is the mother of these two little tumbling balls of double trouble. And the other female they've just been harassing. No. Don't go running behind the termite mound. There's the voice again. Tiny little voice from inside the tunnel. Oh, Ribbon might get them out, Chandra. She's gone up to the entrance there. Now, while we wait for Ribbon's babies to come out, and I think there's a good chance that they will, Emily, who is 5 years old, would like to know what hyenas eat. Emily, hyenas are carnivores, which means that they eat meat. They're also incredibly resilient. In other words, they don't get sick very easily. So they are able to eat old meat as well. So it doesn't even have to be fresh meat. They also have... Oh, Ribbon. I know that feeling, girl. They also have very, very strong jaws, which allows them to break open and crunch down on bones that would be too big for other animals to eat. But obviously it takes them some time to get to that point. So tiny hyenas, like the little ones that have been running backwards and forwards, they are still dependent on their mommy's milk. So they still have to drink from mommy, and they have to drink from mommy for quite a long time, probably close on 1.5 years, maybe even 2 years old, before they can eat meat only. So they'll start eating solid food at around about 8 or so months. But right now, these little ones, who are only about 3 months old, they will be only drinking milk. They're not ready to eat meat yet. Even if they do have teeth, those teeth are reserved for biting each other. Jude. Someone is so large that she can't even be bothered to go and fetch them. Shame, I feel so sorry for Ribbon. Whatever the hyenas ate last night, she didn't get any. She definitely doesn't have the same full belly. Okay. We're going to sit it out here, wait for the little ones to pop their heads out. They really are small. While we do that, Kuchava's up and about. Let's see where she's off to.
Well, I didn't copy much of the link, but it's because Kuchava just went running all of a sudden up this marula tree, and I'm not sure why she went running this way. It's almost like she's looking for the remainder of the carcass. No, she's coming back now. Sorry, Sins. I don't know what she's doing. She's got the crazies at this stage. Is there still some of the meat up there? Looks like it. Looks like she's gone and lay on the actual branch itself. So we're going to just try and figure out what she's actually doing. But she's just kind of gotten up and ran this way, and then now decided that she's going to lie up on a branch on the tree itself. So I'm not really sure if there's any food there. Certainly doesn't look like she's got anything. And I wonder if maybe, just maybe, she has just decided to kind of run and, I don't know, maybe, like I said, there's a bit of the old carcass left or something like that. Crazy that she went running up, but nice anyway that she's decided to ascend another marula tree. Problem is she's crossed back into Chitwa, which means there's going to be probably quite a few other vehicles that are going to start kind of heading in this direction, which means we'll probably have to make space fairly shortly because we've been here for quite some time this afternoon, and then we'll kind of make a little bit of space for them. Now, the thing is with them is that, I mean, like I say, it's because of where she is and the fact that she's just run across the road and up into the tree, it's going to make things a little bit more complicated than what we really wanted things to be. So already there's quite a few vehicles that are kind of lining up, but we'll maybe just do a loop out and let everybody kind of come through as they want to. But she is beautiful, isn't she, when she decides to kind of pose like that. Look at that. Oh, isn't that wonderful? That's very, very cool. Senzo just said to me, said behind me, beautiful. Indeed, very much beautiful. Well, very much beauty, should we say. Super cool that she went up. Now, I'm going to have to move, unfortunately, guys, because there is another car that's coming up the road that's a private vehicle, and I don't think they're going to get round me. The other vehicle that was here was one that was able... Actually, this one's going to go around, which is fine. So let's see if they can make it. Seems like it. Or maybe not. So we'll have to just see if they can get through. No, it's no problem. I'll move out the way. Hold on. So we're going to have to move for this vehicle because they're not going to get past us otherwise. Also, like I said, there's quite a few other vehicles that want to come in, so I'm going to make space for them. I'm just going to let them have a chance because otherwise it's going to become a mess. There's kind of 5 vehicles all descending on this area because she kind of just quickly crossed over, which has meant that there's kind of chaos. So we're going to carry on and leave her. The problem is I don't really have comms going down into this dip, so you're going to either be stuck with me or you're going to be abruptly...
Well, the cover of darkness is not making my search any easier, and if I'm just going to stop and we can have a look here at the immense, gnarly looking storm approaching us just out to this side. So this is the storm that I was worried is going to hit us. And as we can see, there is lightning all over the place. Oh, it's probably a bit hard to pick up right now. Oh, no, there we go. That is a raging storm. So conditions are definitely trickier, but as Dad always taught me, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I am not going to stop my search right now. And this lightning's actually a little bit of an advantage because it's giving a little bit of light to me so I can see a little bit better. But I'm just hoping it doesn't hit us soon because otherwise we'll have to power down and batten down the hatches and finish our search, which I don't want to happen just yet. Sounds like there's a lot happening down in Juma though, which is good. I'm glad that there's some leopard action still. I'm also a bit sad to see here that Hyena hasn't been seen a lot. I would really love to see him one more time. Anyway, hopefully I can stumble across these sausages. In the meantime, let's go back to Jamie.
That's ribbon in the flare, and that's not 1, but 2 little tiny bundles of new hyena joy. So there you go, watching the body heat of them as they start to move out of their den for the very first time. Apparently we're looking at them through the thermal camera, but of course we can also see them in real life as well, which is so exciting. Oh, little ones. They're just making brief appearances at the moment. Every now and again a tiny one pops out. They're about, if I had to look at them and guess, I would say they're about 2 weeks old. Maybe 10, maybe a bit younger, maybe 10 days, but I think 2 weeks is fair. They're so wobbly. Oh, oh, here comes June to say hello. There we go. Now we can have a look at them in the sort of the last rays of color before the sun disappears completely, and we have to switch to infrared. So we just wanted to show them to you quickly before the sun disappears almost totally. Now June's cubs coming up to have a look. They've obviously been well acquainted with their new future clan mates. Hello. Look. No, look. Kudu. Kudu, come on. Whoopsie. Hello. Hold on 1 second. Sure. It's quick. Hyenas' dominance displays can turn very angry very, very quickly. I don't know who that one was that came in, but it immediately joined June. And because Ribbon actually fought back, it caused her a little bit of discomfort. We're not going to see the cubs now, so hold on. We're going to just go back. Sure, the cubs will stay inside, fortunately, and hopefully will not be subjected to that. Hey, my girl. What happened? What was that for? June? Well, I don't think there's any question any further as to whether or not June is dominant in this situation. Who's the youngster that came in? It's surely not Ntima. It looks too small for Ntima. Or is she still that small? No. Not sure who that is. Who is that? Help, please. I don't know who that is. One more quick shot of the spots of the side. Oh, smelly. And a very dominant display over poor Ribbon, whose cubs are now squeaking away. I do love hyenas, I really do. But there is a painfully unpleasant side to their behavior every now and again. And that is when it turns to disciplining them. And often it's an infringement that is so subtle or not even their own fault. In that case, I think Ribbon responded to the arrival of the young hyena, and June immediately took that as aggression. And obviously with cubs around, she's even more likely to be defensive. And in that case, she just turned on Ribbon a little bit. Nothing too serious, though. Ribbon wasn't hurt, but it does mean that Ribbon's been chased off and probably won't see them. So we're going to have a look through and have a look if we can see, which is the joy of infrared, of course, if we can actually see them moving about at the entrance to the tunnel. And I can see June quite clearly, even though it... Oh, she's talking a lot. So I didn't want to talk over any of that. Oh, who have we got here? Listen. Hello, Corky. Have you come to restore some order to your domain after all that drama? You see, the thing about Ribbon is, or at least Corky, is that I think she actually quite likes Ribbon. Oh, sorry, it's in the way. So something like that would have attracted her attention easily. And that's where matriarchs come into play. A lot of the time they come in to stop this sort of behavior. Oh, poor Ribbon. I see her now. She's standing behind us looking so woebegone and tucked in on herself. I can't move now because June's behind me and Corky's off to my right. Where's your boy? He hasn't come out to say hello yet. She was doing this morning as well. Oh, we might get a full whoop. Sometimes when they go into a yawn like that, it can be a precursor to a full contact call whoop. So what we think of as brutal, these guys, it's all in a day's work for them. I mean, you've seen how Corky survived that lion attack. Getting nipped on the ear by June is probably almost inconsequential for Ribbon. There you go. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? You can see where she's been lying in mud and how that's insulated her. or at least cooled her down. Sorry, not insulated her, talking nonsense. Down her sides. Come on, girl. See how the heat's all concentrated around the mouth, the nose, and the inside of the paw pads. Isn't that cool? Come on. Give us a whoop in Flair. That would be epic. Do it. Come on, Corky. Oh, shame, listen to Ribbon's cub. That is so cute. It's unbelievably cute when they do that. Now she's going to go past where Ribbon was. I don't know if Ribbon's there. It's always a tricky one with these den sites because you don't want to, you know that they're coming back at some point, so you don't really want to disturb them too much by moving around. There's also no point because most of the time, by the time you've moved around, they've moved around too and they're back where they started. Oh, there's a very sharp edge to the smell tonight. Let me just check. I see there's one hyena there. Is there anyone else behind me? No. Yeah, all good. Whoa! Poof! Your den is stinky. There's Ribbon, just so you can all comfort yourself she's okay. There's June. June's on the left there. Looking disinterested, and there's Ribbon down there. She's fine. She just looks sorry for herself. Oh, my word. Guys. Phew. I love hyenas. I love every aspect of hyenas. But, goodness gracious, it takes a seriously strong nose to deal with the smell. It's slowly burning away the cells inside my nostrils. Corky's going for a drink now that she's established peace and quiet. And Ribbon's going to go and try and feed her cubs again. Hey, girl. Let's try that all again. So while Ribbon works up the courage to go and do that, off you pop across to Tristan and find out how Kuchava's doing and if he still has her.
Well, Murray, I'm interested to know what drink you get because Murray just told me instead of saying he's asking for a link, he's asking for a drink. So let me know, Murray, what you get delivered. Maybe Kirsty or Nina or Faith. I don't know who's actually on duty that side of the world. But let me know what they get you because hopefully they get you something delicious to drink. Maybe an apple juice because it's almost the end of show. But anyway, we are... Thirsty for water. Okay, excellent. That's not very exciting though. Sky juice is never the most exciting thing that one can have. But if you're thirsty for water, then well, that's what the man must get. Maybe one of the ladies will spoil you and get you something. Anyway, we are on Cheetah Cut Line now. So we left the area of Kuchava and the reason why was because, well, it was just pandemonium that started to happen on that side. And so I decided, nope, we're going to leave there. But just as well we did because we've heard a leopard calling somewhere on Cheetah Cut Line. So we're just driving very, very slowly on Cheetah Cut Line, just scanning around. It only called once and then stopped. Very, very brief call, but there was a call on Cheetah Cut Line for a leopard. So we're just trying to see maybe Tingana or Tundi could be around. If it's Tundi calling, then it might be a sign she's going into an estrus cycle. Generally, the female leopards really don't call that much unless they're trying to attract some sort of a mate. So we're just taking it very slow and really making sure we're scanning properly. The grass is so long that if there's a leopard that's in the grass, it's going to be quite tricky to see it. But the nice thing is that it's nighttime, and so if they look in our direction, we'll get eye shine. So even if the grass is long, you can still pick up the eye shine. What I might do as well is I might just stop here at the junction with Central and just turn off quickly. It could have been in Torchwood, or it could have been on our side. Tax is going to check on Drakensberg and make sure that there's nothing parallel with where I'm driving at the moment. And then obviously we're going to be on this side, just checking what's happening here. But it was kind of from Gari Main, so somewhere here would be about the rough kind of distance that we would hear it. I mean, I can see quite far up the road and nothing there. Let's just check for tracks crossing this road. This is a road that both Tundi and Tingana like to use quite regularly. This is Central that we're at the moment. So it's got a beautiful kind of straight road that takes you to Torchwood Dam. And so it's why the leopards use this a lot. Also, the Nkuhuma Pride uses it quite regularly. So it's a good place just to stop and listen. And maybe we get lucky and we're able to hear this leopard calling again. The thing is that if it is Tundi, she's not going to call nearly as much as a male on patrol. She'll call a little bit and then she'll stop and probably move around quite a bit. The good thing though about leopard calling is that it means that the leopard is moving. Very seldom do you find a leopard stationary calling. They will sit and obviously call, but they move around quite a bit when they're calling. And if it's obviously Tingana calling, well, then that means he's on a territorial patrol and the chances of him popping out is very good. So it's good signs. And like I say, hopefully at some point we'll hear it. But what we might do is just kind of sit and listen for a little bit. You guys can listen with me and try and see if you can hear anything while we sit here. It's always nice at this time of the day to just stop and listen. It's such a beautiful time of the evening. The sun has just set in the western horizon. There's a bit of color that you can see on that side. So we'll just keep quiet for a little bit and listen. Right, nothing really kind of calling other than the Cape turtle doves and the odd woodland kingfisher. So we're going to keep just sitting here for a little bit longer. We're going to try and see maybe we get lucky and we hear that call once more. In the meantime, though, back up to Pat in the Mara.
Well, nothing really to update here. Still trying to find these sausages, but we did have something pretty interesting happen on the way here. Was two honey badgers ran out right in front of us, right in front of the road there, and then went off into what looked to be a bit of a termite mound, or perhaps a burrow. Perhaps they went in hunting, but we lost sight of them very quickly, which so often happens with honey badgers. You have to be very, very lucky to have a decent sighting with a honey badger, and even luckier to get it live. You know, we have to pretty much have the sighting straight away while the camera is on us, because they are quick moving and they are not very skittish, but you know, they just move around quickly. The honey badger who does not care. I actually haven't ever seen them in the Mara as well. I've seen a fair few in Djuma now. I got lucky with honey badgers in Djuma. I got a sighting with 3 of them once, which was amazing. But to see 2 here was also super cool. And then we saw a serval as well, but just couldn't get that. So, I mean, there's been stuff happening, but the tricky thing at night is that we have this infrared, which, sorry, I forgot to mention, we are in infrared now. So we can't get as much range and just see as much as we usually would during the daytime, which makes it a bit unfortunate, but more special when you do see something at night, because nighttime is when it's all happening. And it seems to be happening with Miss Patterson as well, and the hyenas.
we sit really still and really quietly, we might just get lucky here. Ribbon, oh shame. Those flies have been sticking on Ribbon's ear. It's obviously got a little bit of an open wound, and she's disturbed them now. But every now and again, a little cub comes out, and you can just see its head sticking over the top of the entrance to the den tunnel. It's one of those things with cubs this young, is you either see them or you don't. And by that was very profound. What I mean by that is they're not out above the surface of the tunnel or out of the tunnel for very extended periods of time. It's usually a very, very short glimpse when mom's woken them up, and then they suckle, and then they sleep, and they go back down into the den. So you hardly ever get to see much more than a few glimpses at this age. In the next week or so, they should start to be more and more active. They'll explore their surroundings a bit more. But for now, it's really touch and go whether or not we're going to see the one properly. I think she's got one suckling, and I think the other hasn't managed to quite get into position yet. And obviously, the more we shift around at this age, the more they move back into the tunnel and the less optimistic they are about their chances outside. Paula, no, I've never seen a hyena give birth, and as far as I know, no one has ever seen a hyena give birth in the wild. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody's seen it in a zoo or in captivity, but in the wild, it is something that they do very secretly, in private, at their own natal den. They don't ever go to a communal... Listen. Okay, they might be up. Just wait and see. They're begging. No, Ribbon, don't do that. Oh, Ribbon. Really, Ribbon? Really? That was thoroughly inconsiderate of you. Just give it a few more secs, Murray. I'm not sure if they're going to pop out or not. A hyena birth is an incredibly traumatic experience, especially for first-time mums. Fortunately, Ribbon isn't a first-time mum. You actually saw her daughter Ntima earlier. It was the young hyena that came charging onto the scene. I just expected Ntima to have grown as much as these guys have, but of course she won't have. She just looked so tiny still. So a hyena has to give birth through an incredibly uncomfortable passage. Oh, look, there we go. We'll get back to the extraordinary difficulties of hyena birth in a second. But let's just see if we're going to get another glimpse. Now, Ribbon's still quite a young hyena. Oh, that's all we're going to see now, Murray. And unless they're really feeling playful, this is going to be all that we see, because they're suckling now. They're jostling for position a little bit, so we might get lucky, but really, we're just going to see the tops of their ears and their heads. Oh, no, hold on, there's a foot. Look at the foot. Foot, fly, and ear. Now, out of all the animals, hyenas probably come the closest to humans in terms of a difficult birthing process. In fact, they might even outdo us in that most of the time the first-time moms actually lose their first litter. They generally don't survive just because of the narrowness of the passage that they have to pass through. And it's one of those things where, like with humans, we have difficulty with the birthing process because we walk upright and it's the shape of our pelvis. Where for hyenas, they give birth with difficulty because they've got high levels of male hormone, which has resulted in an odd genital structure, which in turn makes the birthing process quite difficult. And in both those instances, the benefits that they're getting outweigh the negative tangential effect, which is a struggle to safely deliver newborns. Oh, look at those tiny claws. Bet you they razor sharp too. Just like those little milk teeth that are like needles. I bet those claws could scratch like nobody's business. Well done, Ribbon. Litter number 2 that we know of. And actually quite soon after her last litter. Ntima was born. When was she born? February, March 2017. Penguin on Safari wants to know what sort of things make hyenas go up and down in rank. It's a really difficult question to answer because the truth is that most of the time no one knows. The death of a... yes, we can. I will answer that question fully in a bit. I think we're going across to the Maasai Mara. I hope. Otherwise we're in big trouble if we're not.
This little roadside surprise here. It's not the big cats we were after, but it is definitely a little one, and it is a serval. So, not exactly what I was after, but hey, I'll take it, and I love seeing these little cats. They are so cute and so beautiful. But actually, they're also really effective and really efficient hunters. So with a lion, it'll usually be about roughly 1 in 5, 1 in 4 hunts that will end in a successful kill. With these little cats, it's 1 in every 2 hunts. And that's obviously just statistically speaking. It's not going to be that every single time, but yeah, that's 50% of hunts are successful with this brave little cat. How cool is that? Just a nice little sighting. I don't think I'm going to find the sausages now. There's only a few minutes left, and I think we're going to have to get back to camp because this storm is really starting to loom now, and it is going crazy. Actually, let's just film out here for a little bit. Look at that. How epic. Absolutely epic. Mother Nature showing her true power. So, we are going to make our way back now and send you back to Jamie, who wants to speak to you about hyena rank.
All right, so Pat has the long haul journey back across to camp. We were talking about the hyena structure, and the question was about what sorts of things cause an upheaval in the hyena rankings, or how do they go up and down in rank. The truth is, I don't fully understand it. I don't fully know. We know that coups happen where high rankers get pushed right down the food chain and low rankers rise up, sometimes even to the point of the matriarchy, but that's very rare. And we know that sometimes hyenas have a fall from grace and become quite low ranked. We know that when matriarchs die and they don't have a suitable successor, that can also cause a massive upheaval, and you get hyenas vying for the position of matriarch, kind of like you would do in a work environment. So if you imagine that all of a sudden the position of manager, middle manager, becomes vacant, and now you've got all these people below the middle manager who now want to move up in a place, and they start to jostle for position, and there's a bit of chaos because the manager's not there telling them what to do, and that's sort of what happens with the loss of a matriarch. So it can have quite a negative effect on hyena clans. Ribbon's an interesting one. I don't know what happened in this clan 2 years ago, but whatever it was absolutely crazy. Madam, the matriarch, died or vanished. We don't know what happened to her. And then strange things happened. Gwen, who was always the lowest ranked hyena, was dominating everyone, including Ribbon. Ribbon was dominating Pretty. And then one day Ribbon rocked up after numerous fighting sounds had been heard on the dam camera, looking woebegone with half of her left ear torn out. And she's got the scars to this day, and covered in scars and bites and puncture wounds. And from then on she was submissive to Corky and Pretty, and Corky and Pretty were back at the top of the pile. So I have no idea exactly what transpired with this clan, and the truth is that we'll never know. We can guess, but we'll never ever know. I think the loss of Madam left a vacuum where there were several willing potential participants who tried to step up to the fore, and resulted in confusion. I don't know. Maybe because Gwen was more experienced. She took advantage of that situation. But Corky's not exactly a spring chicken either. Corky would have known what was going on. I don't know. Zim wants to know if the other hyenas will harm these cubs. Potentially, yes. So the biggest cause of death, and it's one of those unpleasant facts about hyenas, the biggest cause of death of hyena cubs is other females. And it's usually a high-ranked female that gets it into her head that she doesn't like the low-ranked female's cubs. And then there's nothing a low-ranked female can do about it. It's rare, though. Not nearly as common as people once thought. I mean, I've seen it happen, but I've seen it happen maybe once in the time that I've spent with hyenas. Some hyenas do it more than others. Some hyenas never do it at all. So potentially, yes. But I don't think there will be, and I'll tell you why. Because I have seen the Djuma clan share den sites peacefully for a really long period of time. Now they've chosen, I suspect they chose to come to Ribbon. I'm not 100% sure about that. I mean, if the time scale might not fit. I don't remember when this den was found. But it seems that these cubs are very young for Ribbon to have moved them to a natal or to a communal den. I think the other hyenas came to her. And the Djuma clan is so small that I don't think that there's going to be any what's known as colloquially as aunticide, which is basically when the females kill the cubs. I don't think it's likely, honestly. Never had it happen here that we know of. We don't know what happened to Ntima's sibling, to be fair. Don't know what happened to Lamula, but I think it's unlikely that it was another hyena. It's rare, but it happens. And as for June, I think she just got overexcited there because Ribbon said hello to Ntima, then Ribbon tried to block Ntima from her cubs because Ntima's full of nonsense. I don't think Ntima fully knows exactly who she is. She grew up in a time of confusion. First her mom was mid-ranking, then she was high-ranking, then she's been low-ranked. I don't think Ntima knows exactly what's going on at all. I think you've got a situation there of a hyena with a serious case of confused identity. I don't think she knows if she's high-ranked or low-ranked, and it never occurred to me before now to think about the effect that Ribbon's changes in circumstance might have had on her daughter. Because as we know with hyenas, it's a psychological inheritance of rank. Oh, that's interesting. Apparently as we... Oh, look. Oh, brilliant. Well done, Ribbon. Thank you for that. That was really kind of you. Just as we are drawing to the end of the sunset safari, we have a brief glimpse of Ribbon's little cub. That's presumably the low-ranked one. But as I said, it is the end of the sunset safari, which means that for now it is time for us to say goodbye to you all. We will be showing you a lovely little video at the end of the sunset safari. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for joining us.
Do your pets respond to Safari Live? Post videos of your pets watching Safari Live. Shoot your clips horizontally and be sure to capture good quality sound. Upload your videos onto the Safari Live Facebook page or Twitter with #SafariLivePets.